G'day viewers. So I've had a interesting question, sort of peripherally humour, I guess. Somebody from overseas has been watching the ABC television show Cleverman, which I guess is a sort of sci-fi, fantasy, superhero-y comic thing. It's pretty good. And in it there's a Aboriginal hero who uses an Aboriginal weapon, and they asked me what do I know about it, is there a system that it was used for, with that kind of thing. So I can tell you something about it because I happen to own one of them. Okay, so I bought this from an antique shop out west decades ago. In sort of central northern Australia, it's called a nulla nulla. In the east coast, around Sydney and down to sort of Tasmania, it was called a Waddy. So it was a pretty universal sort of a thing. It's made of hardwood. It's got fire hardened points at either end. And it's a pretty cool thing. Now, what was it used for, and how did people use it? Well, we do have some historical accounts. So here is a lot of information from, mostly from Tasmania, about the weapon and the use of it.
Changes, not in a hurry anyway. You can feel the endlessness with the coming of the light of day. Talking about a chosen place, they want to sell it in a marketplace. Look out, in just a minute now. Standing on solid rock, standing on sacred ground, living on borrowed time of the winds of change, walking down the line. Right down that line. At the dawn of time, and the dreaming all began. Proud people come, living here in a promised land, running from a heart of darkness, and searching for a heart of light. This could be paradise.
So from all that we can tell that it was primarily a hunting tool. It was used for killing animals once you'd speared them, putting them out of their misery, as well as sort of other hammery type things, I would guess. It was carried, scabbarded if you like, on a string that you tied around you. It could be used as a throwing weapon as well, which is probably why the sort of round shape persisted rather than, sort of more axie-shaped ones. The sort of cylindrical type is really the most common. The account of them doing, I guess, ritual dueling by clubbing each other on the head, I find particularly fascinating because it's immediately reminiscent of the English breaking each other's heads with cudgels for entertainment at country fairs, or the Irish faction fighting where it was all about cracking each other's heads with shillelaghs. So very, very interesting sort of parallel there. all happening at about the same time in history, I might add. Was there a martial arts system that it was used with? Probably not. The thing about this is you give it to any martially trained person and they immediately feel extremely comfortable with it. It's a fantastic, just natural weapon. You've got a thumpy bit for whacking people on the head, you've got a stabby bit for that bit, and if you're getting close you've got another stabby bit there. And if you've grown up putting animals out of their misery with this your entire life, you don't really need to have a martial system for it per se. It's like nobody would deny the Gurkhas weren't fabulous warriors, but they don't have a fencing system for the kukri. They just hit people with it. And this is probably much the same. It is interesting that the accounts specify that they do use it to parry blows when fighting, rather than use a shield. But you don't really need, a sophisticated fencing system to use a tool like this that you have grown up with your entire life. If you've been clubbing kangaroos, you certainly know how to club a person. So how was it used in warfare? Well, again, we have some accounts. So these are mostly from the war in Tasmania, where some of these accounts are pretty nasty, but at this point in history you shouldn't be making judgments on on what happened when one side thought they were fighting a vicious guerrilla insurgency and the other side were fighting genocide. So we won't get too caught up in all that, but this is what the historical accounts say the weapon was used for. So, from those accounts, perhaps not unsurprisingly, this was mostly used to kill people by clubbing them to death with repeated blows to the skull. Okay, which is really, as soon as you pick it up, that's what it's for. It's for smacking people on the head. Now, you may have noticed that it's also not dissimilar in shape to a long neck beer bottle. And interestingly, the term waddy blow became the term in Australian slang that was used for cracking people on the head with a beer bottle as well. So that, I think, gives us a fairly good indication as to the primary attack used with the waddy. We have here a section from a World War II Australian military combatives manual, giving us a defence to the waddy blow. So, the Nulla Nulla or Waddy, it's a hunting tool primarily designed for clubbing animals to death, but in combat it can be used in non-lethal forms for ritual dueling and apparently disciplining wives. They were used to club them on the head, obviously not too hard, but in combat, smack people on the head. You've also got a thrusty bit there and a thrusty bit there, and then you can smack them on the head that way. Okay, so you don't need a complex martial arts system to use it. If you're, an athletic person with some sort of experience of combat, and you've been hunting with it your entire life, you don't really need any special training for it. It's a really natural sort of weapon, really fantastic design, and you can see why it was used all over Australia for tens of thousands of years, pretty well unchanged, because it really is just a really, really nice multi-purpose weapon. So I hope that answers that rather unusual question.